coming up on the 1 week mark of Black Ops 4's update 1.13 for PlayStation 4 users, and actually for what we're talking about here in this video, for all users. Thursday, we ended up seeing that we had the introduction of the update on PC, so at this point, everyone should have their hands on time with the newest round of weapon tuning passes that happened as a part of that 1.13 update. And there were a lot of weapons touched during that. We talked about that earlier in the week, we broke it all down and everything like that, but in this video today, I want to talk to you guys about the 4 best class setups here that I have for you guys out of this most recent weapon tuning pass. So after this patch, which weapons reign supreme, which ones should you really go for if you want to end up just absolutely dominating lobbies, and we're gonna break that down here in this one. Some of these actually might surprise you, some maybe not so much, but regardless, we have 4 classes to talk about that I think you guys definitely can enjoy and can do well with. And as always with all these ones, if you guys have any suggestions you'd like to add, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. If you give these a try and do really well with it, feel free to tweet me a picture of your results, all that good stuff, but let's jump right into it. Let's start out with the one that I think is truly the best weapon in Black Ops 4 at the moment, that being the Auger Dmr. Might surprise you because, well, it's a single-shot, semi-auto weapon, and it has been relatively hit or miss in terms of how people enjoy it in the past. But as of this most recent update, it ended up having the ADS move speed increased, the firing speed increased, and the double tap operator mod improved the firing between its shots. So a buff all around to this weapon, which if you take a look at where it was beforehand, even if it wasn't your go-to or favorite weapon in the class, it was still the weapon that had the fastest time to kill when comparing all weapons that were not one-shot, one-kill weapons. So snipers out of the way, shotguns and close quarters out of the way, the Auger Dmr had the fastest time to kill as is, which is nuts that this now is improved and made even better. So for this class, we end up running the Auger Dmr with actually the base scope. I'm not really the biggest fan of the base optic, but in order to make it work with this class setup and make it as lethal as possible, you're gonna have to leave it as is, unfortunately. But for this, we end up running 2 attachments, the operator mod, and 2 perks with 1 piece of gear. So on the Auger Dmr, we end up actually running quite simply high caliber 1 and high caliber 2. Those of you guys that are unfamiliar with high caliber and what it really does, high caliber 1 increases the damage to headshots, but high caliber 2, when you stack that on top of high caliber 1, it also increases the damage to the upper chest. So that means it's way more lethal at any single range here because you're doing more damage on a larger scale of the body. And so outside of that, we end up running the operator mod also of the double tap, which allows you to fire 2 shots as compared to just your single one. And when we talk about such a lethal weapon to begin with, double tap, depending on where you end up hitting them, it can actually be a 1 burst. Now, if you want to forego 2 perks, you can end up adding in another attachment with your primary gunfighter attachment, to which if you want to do that, of course, the things like the long barrel work, the FMJ work to break through armor, and fast mags, of course, if you're a little more gung-ho to be in the action all the time, fast mags can definitely help, but there is nothing like quick draw or stock that you can end up putting on the Auger that would really make a tremendous amount of difference for your mobility and things like that. So for that, I end up just suggesting one of 2 different things. Either sacrifice 1 perk and toss on a different optic if you don't like the base scope like I do, or keep it all the same and have 3 perks as well in the background. But I do end up also running stim shot for, of course, quicker healing and more frequent healing. Then also, I like to throw in, say, tac mask, lightweight, and dead silence. Now, for the specific gameplay, if I'm not mistaken, I actually think I got cut off while creating the class still, so I was going to have tac mask on, but I think I actually ran 9 out of 10 for the specific gameplay you're watching in the background right now. But depending on if you're, say, a crash main or somebody that just likes ammo, Scavenger also could be a good thing to throw on to go in the mix of this class setup as well. But all in all, this is definitely a class that you can demolish with, and when we consider the Auger is the fastest time to kill weapon of all weapons that are not one-shots, well, this thing just got an insane buff, which makes it even better, so definitely utilize this class setup and you will shred. Next up, let's talk about another rifle that actually did get buffed, that being the Vapor. Now, the Vapor was always formidable, but it was kind of always in the shadow of, say, the Maddox, but with the Maddox being absolutely demolished, then slightly reverted back to where it's still a nerf compared to where it was beforehand, but not as bad as it was whenever it first dropped on that Tuesday this past week. The Vapor ended up having 2 different things changed to it. They might seem subtle, but they do help drastically in gameplay experiences. One, improve the ADS idle to sway less, so you're a little bit more stable when aiming down sight with that. And then also it increased the 5-hit kill range from 34.7 yards to 50 yards. So that max damage range that it had was improved by roughly 44%, which is honestly pretty drastic considering the fact the weapon with the right attachments, doesn't have all that much recoil. It's easy to control as is and absolutely can melt through players given the right circumstances. That is quite a bit of distance in game that you can melt people. So to take advantage of this, we end up running a class setup similar to what you see on screen right now. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the base optics and iron sights for the Vapor, so I always like to come back to the least obtrusive optic that is available, that being the Elo sight. The reflex sight isn't bad, but you still have the iron outlines, which slightly intrude on your point of view. But preferences aside, if you do take the Elo, if I'm not mistaken, there is some slight recoil added, but not all that much. But then we end up running the attachments of the long barrel, the stock, as well as the fast mags for reasons of increasing that damage drop off even further, stock giving more mobility, and of course fast mags just having the ability to reload faster. Additionally, we end up running the gear of the stim shot. You're going to see that a lot in these class setups. Then we end up running the perks of tac mask, lightweight, and dead silence. And again, that's sort of a staple as well within these class setups you'll be seeing in this video. When you put all this together, you end up having a very mobile rifle, which has an insane damage drop-off potential and can carry that max damage well farther into the depths of the map compared to other weapons. So definitely give this one a try, with the Maddox still being not necessarily to where it was before, but not as bad as it was initially nerfed to. It's something that Vapor is a very close second in terms of mobile rifles, but also that can pack a punch. So give it a try, let me know how you feel about it. But moving along, let's talk about another rifle here, closing out the rifle classification of this video. Let's talk a little bit about the Rampart 17. Now, when you take a look at the patch notes here for this, it's not one that had a lot to it. There was only one slight note and adjustment here to it that ended up increasing the max damage range from 37.6 yards to 41.6 yards. So not all that much more in game, but it is something that with all these other adjustments to other weapons, it sort of brought the Rampart up in terms of favorability ever so slightly. While it wasn't all that adjusted in terms of statistical values, the meta now definitely can favor this with the right attachments. So for the class setup for the Rampart, we want to take advantage of the damage properties here with this, and we want to make it a laser pointer because the Rampart actually among all rifles has the highest DPS or damage per shot, so you can end up killing, if you're accurate, in the quickest amount of time. So for this we end up running, which is out of character for me, but is something that absolutely works, the Recon Optic, fast mags, high caliber, and grip. So you're going to end up utilizing one primary gunfighter attachments and have those 4 attachments, or rather 1 optic and 3 attachments. Now the interesting part about the Recon Optic, for those of you guys unsure of why I chose this, because I normally don't like the larger optics, the Recon Optic practically has 0 recoil when equipped. So if you remember back to whenever players, say in Black Ops 3, put the Recon Optic onto the Vesper and it had absolutely no recoil, it would just be a straight shooter. That's essentially what this does, and while it's not as crazy of a fire rate as compared to the Vesper in Black Ops 3, it takes a weapon that usually kicks around quite a bit when aiming down sight, even with grip, and makes it a laser pointer. And so therefore, when we end up utilizing this and using that max damage per shot value of the entire rifle classification, you have a weapon that's next to unstoppable in the right hands. Of course, with the other attachments, fast mags just allows you to reload faster, high caliber does more damage per shot in those headshot values, and then grip allows you to have a little more control on that recoil, which, even though you have that Recon Optic, it just adds that extra little bit of control, which makes it truly a laser pointer. Outside of that, we end up running the gear of the stim shot, then we have the perks of Scavenger, lightweight, and dead silence. I've run Scavenger on this one because, unlike my Auger, where it's a little bit more precision of a weapon and it doesn't kill quite as fast, it is something that I'll run through ammo a little bit quicker than that of the other weapons we already covered. So in that sense, while I could be a crash main, I might not necessarily have my assault pack just yet to get that extra added ammo. So just in case, that's my little backup plan B with this class setup. But it's an absolute powerhouse. Definitely suggest you guys try this one out if you guys haven't used the Rampart. It's insane, firstly, for the damage properties it has, and then whenever you add this, it's just straight up laser pointer. So give this one a go. This might be one of my favorite ones outside of the Auger here in this class setup video to play around with. And the final class we'll talk about today deals with the Daemon 3XB. So hopefully you ended up getting up to tier 50 as of Operation Absolute Zero, but this one was honestly a powerhouse back in the day when it was first introduced. Unlike these weapons now introduced with Operation Grand Heist, they were a little bit more on the stronger end compared to, say, just middle of the pack and subpar compared to other weapons like the Rampage and the Switchblade X9 are currently. So the Daemon 3XB already had a decent fire rate if you ended up having a decent burst trigger finger, but when you put this on, it's going to be something you can shred through players. For this, we end up running the attachments of the Grip, Fast Mags, High Caliber, and last but certainly not least, the Rapid Fire attachment, which kind of ices the cake here on this one. So for those guys that really just want to get into the action, really want to go close quarters, just all out, this is definitely a class setup for you. The Grip allows you to have some control at medium range if you can't get immediately up into the faces of the enemy. Then the Fast Mags just let you get those extra rounds in quicker. High Caliber, of course, headshots being lethal as is. With a burst weapon, it's definitely important to hit those headshots, so High Caliber, why not throw it on there? And then Rapid Fire, well, the burst delay is practically non-existent. It becomes something that if you do have that nice trigger finger, you can end up pulling off rates of fire comparable to or even slightly higher than that of the Spitfire. So definitely pretty lethal with the right attachments here on this, but for the rest of the class setup, we end up having the Gear of Stim Shot, no tier 1 perk, and then lightweight and dead silence, just so that we can end up traversing the map and getting up in the face of the enemy without them really knowing that we're there, and of course at a quicker of a pace with lightweight equipped as well. This one is definitely more so suited for those rushers and the players that really want to get in the action, not so much as the other ones. You can play a little more passively with the other 3 classes, though you can be aggressive, as we have detailed. They're not as aggressive as this class setup is. So ultimately, that's 4 class setups here that out of this new update really helped these weapons flourish and really helped them to become fantastic weapons in the hands of the beholder. And so therefore, I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Try these class setups out for yourself. How did you do with them? How do you think you can do with them? And is there anything that you guys would amend, add to this, take away? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Really looking forward to it. I'm really enjoying the Auger here out of this one. Again, I think this is my favorite and definitely the best weapon in the game so far. The Rampart definitely grew on me as well with that Recon Optic with no recoil whatsoever. So that said, let me know your thoughts down there in the comment section down below, but hopefully enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops 4, multiplayer, blackout, zombies. We got you covered for the best of updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. So if any of that interests you, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, there's the best place to get connected from outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. Well, that's it, out of the way. Thank you guys all so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.